What's up, guys? Welcome into the On Fire podcast. This is episode number 4. I'm one of your hosts, Donovan Jones. Joining me today, I got my guy Charlie Banks. We got Jayke with a Y, Jesse Lucas. How you guys feeling, man?
Great, man. It's good to be here
Good.
again.
Feeling good, feeling blessed.
For sure. Yeah, it's been a good week. How's you guys' week been going so far?
Pretty good.
It's been crazy.
Go ahead, Jesse. I know you got a lot going on.
Oh, just waiting on this baby to pop out. I mean, by the time this airs, it'll be
like
out
February.
already. But yeah, so waiting on that to happen. We were hoping it was going to be here happening already, but yeah, we don't know. It could be another week still, at least.
My sister, she just had a baby like 2 or 3 months ago. And she went in on a Sunday morning. It was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and she thought she was having like labor pains or whatever. I'm not a doctor. I don't know all the technical terms, but she thought she was having the baby, then. And so she was like texting us, "Hey, y'all be praying for me, this and that." And so we're at Sunday school. And I'm like, "Hey, can everybody pray for my sister? She's in labor right now." And then she didn't have the baby for like another 2 weeks. So everybody was like, "How's the baby?" We're like, "I don't know. It's not here yet."
Oh, she's been having a lot of like back pains, which with our most of her labor was back labor, and so we thought she was going to be at least started, and she had an appointment last week, and she's not there at all. So it's the waiting game still.
What's been going on with you, Jayke?
I mean, as you guys know, me and my wife and our daughter had COVID, so I'm still trying to get over all that. They're fully healthy, and I'm not yet. So it's been a week back at work of just, trying to get right. And as you can hear, I still got the sniffles, but it's good, man. Our baby actually had it I wouldn't say she had it not as bad as us. She didn't have it as long as either of us, so that was great because we were most worried about her, obviously, but yeah, other than that, man, just, the holidays being over, it's a busy time.
Yeah.
What about you, Charlie?
I've been pretty good, just doing some more podcast stuff, finishing up the year, and school's over with for right now, but it'll be back
when
in.
When you say year, are you talking about you're already done with 2024? Because I know the way you're working, you might be.
No. Yeah, I might be. You never know. But, done with 2023, and school's out right now, so I've just been kind of chilling, taking a break. I'm not going to say I deserve it, but it definitely feels good. I'll tell you that much. And just trying to get some merchandise ready for 2024 with Young Minds and Operation and stuff like that. So, yeah, doing good.
Dude, Charlie, I was reading. I think I was reading Philemon. I was going through the New Testament earlier because we've been trying to like sit our kids down for like 15 minutes and just everybody get a book and everybody be quiet for 15 minutes and let's just read. And so I think I was reading the book of Philemon. This was today. It's bad that I don't remember which book it was. It was one of the books in the New Testament that it would only take you 10 minutes to read, So I was reading it, and at the end of it, no, it was the beginning. Paul was talking about how the passion that Philemon had toward the church and the encouragement that he had been hearing about him. Like that's when I read it, I immediately thought about you because the way that you are doing everything like through the church, through the stuff that you're doing for Operation Patriotism. So I was like, man, this is like the definition of Charlie right here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, like everybody, I know I can speak for everybody else. I feel like that, like the stuff that you're doing, especially at your age, definitely like inspires all of us, makes us look bad.
But I'll tell you one thing. I just, was out of a random chance. I went to Wild Adventures. It's a theme park here in Valdosta just to go because they had like a Christmas display up. Not to mention they didn't take Christ out of Christmas. There was like a nativity thing there too, which was great to see. But they also that night had a it was called a conference called like Move or something, and they used the concert venue for it. Over 400 kids responded to the gospel that night, and I didn't even. I was like, "What?" I was like, "Hold the phone." I was like, "Whoa!" It shocked me because I was just there, just trying to see some Christmas lights, and then you got kids over here getting saved and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was funny. We go every year to Rock City. I know you went to Rock City whenever y'all came to Chattanooga, right?
Yeah, we did. Freezing.
We take up on Rock City, up on the mountain.
Yeah, so cold.
So we take our kids there to every year to see the Christmas lights. and they do like a nativity scene type thing. It's like I think they said it was every 30 minutes or 90 minutes they do the nativity, like the Christmas story. And I'm not kidding. This happened in like a span of like 30 seconds. We walked past it. I said, look, they got the nativity scene over here, blah, blah, blah. I was talking about, man, that's so good. That's so good. And then I look, and the people in front of us were taking forever in line. And I was like, what are these morons doing up here? And the people that were with us, they were like, how do you go from nativity to calling people? I was like, well, these people they're moving real slow. But anyway, and maybe I need to work on that. But so I got a question for all of you guys. So is there something maybe this week or maybe over the last month or the last little while that the Lord's been working on your heart? I'm convicted in saying that even right now because of what I just said. But has there been something that maybe the Lord's been working on your heart, or it doesn't have to be in terms of something spiritual, or just something that maybe you've learned or something you're going through, or something y'all would be willing to share?
Yeah,
Jesse,
I can go first. So I know I messaged you guys in our private group, had, and I won't go into a lot of detail, but had some issues with one of my kids. I don't think it's going to end up being anything major. It's more of a catching something before it turned into a major issue. But like when I saw it, it was late at night. They had gone to bed. I was looking through a device of theirs, and so I'm up until I started looking probably like 10:30 at night, and I'm up until 2 a.m. looking and just finding stuff and conversation and stuff. And so then I finally okay, I need to go to bed because I had to work the next day. I had to be up at like 6. So I lay down and I'm laying there, and in my mind I'm thinking about this, and like I feel like I would have had a right to be mad because it's stuff that they knew they shouldn't have been doing. They were fully aware of, but it wasn't like I didn't feel mad. I didn't feel anger. It was more of a grief that they were heading down towards something that they didn't realize how detrimental and how damaging that was going to be. And so me sitting, and I was thinking about that. I ended up falling asleep thinking about that. And then the next morning, I messaged you guys about it. I was sitting and doing some just some time in my word, praying and stuff like that before I got into work. And as I'm sitting there, it hits me that, and this is, growing up, I always had this, I think, incorrectly skewed picture of what our relationship with God was like from churches I went through. And it was, if you mess up, you do something wrong, God's mad at you, there's going to be punishment, stuff like that. And going through that, it hit me that, that's not what it is. It's God sees the consequences of what's coming. He doesn't want that for us. And so even if, if we're still a believer, we're still a child of God, we're still following him, and we mess up and we sin, there are consequences that go along with that, if you don't stop it soon enough, you have to pay those consequences here. Now, ultimately, long-term consequences is spiritual death and separation from God. But just, I guess, and Donovan, I think just a couple of days ago, you made a comment about God frequently speaks to you about his relationship with you through your relationship with your kids.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that, I had not really ever thought about before, that seeing it that way, not being, like I said, not being mad, being more grieved at what was done and what it could have been, and wanting to stop it, fix it because of that. I don't know, that hit me like different than it's ever hit me before. And she's my oldest is 13, so I've been at this a little while, but yeah.
And who's to say like that God didn't allow that to happen just so you would see that? You know what I'm saying? Like that picture. Yeah. I try to think about that stuff all the time because God really does use my kids like all the time. There's so many times that I'm like, man, I keep tripping over the same thing. There's no way. I don't even feel like God wants to hear me apologizing to him right now. And then like my son will come up and be like, oh, I love you, Dad, or something like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, God's looking at me like that little kid coming to the dad being like, hey dad, I love you, or this or that. And there's never going to be a time that, like, if my kids are coming to me apologizing or something, that I would be like turn them away, and that's like our fallen love, imperfect. And the way that he looks at us is perfect. And I saw a video a while back where this guy was talking about how God doesn't just see us where we are right now. He sees us also a million years from now when we're in eternity with him. And this life is such a blip in time that it's like he sees us way down. So don't be way down the road. So don't just be tripping over the same thing. It's like, yeah, he sees you where you are right now, but he's also outside of this time and space to where he sees us way on down the road with him. But yeah, man, that's good.
That's a whole nother aspect of it too. Is it's not just, like you said, we get a glimpse of how God sees us, but it's, magnified so much more. Yeah.
That's good, man. That's good. What you got, Jayke?
I think the big thing for me lately over the last like 2-3 weeks has been just being content in where you're at and not wishing for the next step before it's time to take that step. Like I talk all the time about how, I'm ready to quit my job. I'm ready to make music. I'm ready to do this. And it gets to a point where you get discontent where you're at. And, I think it's simple. Well, I know it's important for us to find like situations where we can show God where we are, because you can pray like, oh, I want to go do this for God, this for God, this for God, when he might be putting situations in front of you that you're not even looking at because you're thinking about the future, And that's something that's really hit me. And I'm not saying I'm good at it. I'm not saying I've came around to it yet, but it's just something that I'm working on, because I get really discontent in my situation a lot in terms of like my job and things like that. And as you guys know, I'm moving soon. So I'm just like, when can I get out of here kind of deal. So I would say that's the biggest thing for me in the last 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
What about you, Charlie?
It's been kind of going on for a while, probably more than, a couple weeks, but probably, mainly just patience. Like, because with certain situations that I've been talking with you guys about and everything, like sometimes I'm just like, come on, God, why aren't you why aren't you doing this? Like, because I see an opportunity where something for this to happen, like whatever the situation may be, right? And I'm like, well, maybe maybe God will do something here. Well, then it doesn't happen, and I'm like, I was praying about it. What the heck? And so I've been having to learn, like, because believe it or not, some people they can't believe this when I say this. I do have a short fuse sometimes. Like, I do get a little bit angry. I probably look like a miniature Hulk because I'm so short, like getting angry. But like, I do have a short fuse sometimes, and so I have to like really just like remember, like I've got to be patient when it comes to those situations, especially when it comes to like my family, things like that. If I want something to happen.
Yeah, so yours and Jayke's is kind of similar in a way.
Oh, that's what I was just thinking. Yeah, patience and just being able to kind of be content in where we're at in situations and stuff like that.
So for me, like I said, this episode will be out probably in February, so we're a couple months removed from Christmas. But my wife bought me a Bible for Christmas, a new Bible, and so I've been praying over it, and I was like, man, I'm going to start from the beginning. I'm going to start from Genesis, So I started reading first couple chapters the other night, and I believe it's Genesis 4, where right before Cain kills Abel, Cain brings his offering, Abel brings his offering to God, and Abel's is accepted and Cain's is not. And God talks to Cain, and he's like, hey, why are you angry? If you're not presenting a good gift, why would it be accepted? That type of thing. And he like gives Cain a chance. He's like, sin is crouching at your door, and its wants are contrary to yours, but you must rule over it. And so like he's giving Cain that warning at the beginning. Like this is, first 4 chapters in the Bible, God is telling basically man, you are to rule over sin. Like don't let it rule over you. Don't let it control you. You are to control it. You have been given dominion over the things, everything in this world. And so as I was reading that, and then the very next verse, Cain is talking to Abel in the field and then kills him. And then God comes back to Cain, and Cain's like, am I my brother's keeper? That whole thing. And God puts a curse on Cain. And the thing that really stood out to me was like how Cain, he doesn't apologize to God, or he doesn't say, I shouldn't have done this or anything like that. He just says to God, like, this punishment is more than I can bear. And it's just like, man, how selfish are we? Like, we do the wrong thing. And then when God says, okay, I'm taking this away from you, we're just like, man, this is more than I can bear. It's not like, I'm sorry, God, I shouldn't have done this. I realized that what I done was wrong. And then, God they kind of talk back and forth for a minute. And then the last verse that has Cain mentioned in it, it says, something to the effect of like Cain turns his back from God. And I think that's just so sad to see. Like, he just decides, okay, I'm done with God. I'm just going to turn and leave his presence. And so I don't want that to be something in my life that I trip over something to the point where I'm like, okay, God, this punishment is more than I can bear. I want to be on the other side of that, like Lord, forgive me, allow me to lay down these things that are not conducive to where I want to be in life, and to do what you would have me to do ultimately. But I've been really kind of thinking about that a lot.
I think that can go even deeper too, because from there, we do see a little bit. I don't remember specifically the verses, but a little bit of genealogy, descendants from Cain. And there's, I don't remember his name, but there's a descendant mentioned, and it's specifically talks about how evil and wicked he
I think it was
was.
Was it Lamech?
Lamech,
Lamech? Yeah.
And so, that's, would that have happened? Would Lamech have been that way if Cain had made the decision to submit to God's will, or even after he killed Abel, if Cain would have repented and gone back? And I mean, so the decisions that we make, even not even just the decision like to actually sin, but the decision to repent or not after the sin can end up, I think, impacting your family tree.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because that Lamech, didn't he invented what's it called, polygamy? Like, he had two wives.
Yep.
He had two wives, and basically made fun of God, because he's like, okay, God, if this is the punishment that you gave Cain, mine should be far more than this, because
Yep.
I've done this. I've killed multiple people. I've done this. And so him bragging about the things that he did that were wrong, it's just like, yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about it in that way. Like, me and Jake talk about this a lot, how like the value of our yes affects other people. And so that positively and negatively, you saying yes to sin, or you saying yes to, doing the right thing and doing things God's way, has an effect on those around you.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
And I
That's
was going to
good.
say that it kind of flips back on the flip side of that too, is when you give God your yes and you do it the right way, you can be that generational curse breaker. Like, my family, they weren't God following until it got to my mom. And then, here we are now. And my wife, her parents didn't follow God. Her mom, I won't speak too much on any of that, but like, we've just kind of broken that mold. And I think it's going to trickle down to our daughter as well. So
Yeah.
I'm hopeful anyways. I'm praying anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's good. Yeah, because my not to go too long on this, but like my mom's mom was, I think I talked to Charlie about this before, was a prostitute. And my aunt was as well, my mom's sister. And my mom, she decided to give her life to Christ when she was like either 14 or 15. And I was talking to her about that not that long ago, and it's just like, my mom deciding to give her life to Christ and go that way had an effect on, me and my brothers and sisters, because there's 5 of us. And we all could have been raising our kids separately. We might not even be here, had my mom decided to go that other way. And so you just think about that. And then now we're trying to do the best that we can to raise our kids that way. So I told my mom, I'm like, you had an effect on the lives of me, my kids, my sister, my other sister that's getting ready to have a baby, my brother, who's got multiple kids. So yeah, man. Yeah. So Jesse, I know you had a little topic for us to talk about for a minute.
And we don't have to spend a ton of time on it. I thought it could possibly spark some interesting conversation. So I watched a decent amount of some political and social commentary type shows, and I've seen a lot with like VR, virtual reality, like gaming and stuff like that. But even like, you can see, we got a VR headset for our kids for Christmas, and you can get NBA seats to where you're like, you put the headset on and it's like you're sitting courtside watching the game. But stuff like that. Then also, looking at Neuralink that Elon Musk is coming out with, and there's a good chance that it'll be able to help blind people see again. There'll be people that maybe are like partially colorblind that will fix that. Just a lot of stuff with that. But I've also seen a lot of people talking about this is now going to make it to where everyone's just going to want to be in this metaverse or this virtual reality all the time. So as more and more people go to that, where eventually, if you have to make the decision between going into this virtual reality and being able to have whatever you want, none of it's real, but it feels real and it seems real to you. You get the dopamine hits when something good happens, and you can stop anything negative from happening. But going into that or staying in the real world, and it's not going to be as good as what it is now because a lot of people are going to be in this virtual world. Do you choose to have the seemingly not as good life that's real, or the fake illusion of whatever you want? I'm pretty confident all of us are going to be on the same page with this. But I thought it could spark some interesting conversation, especially with us having kids and stuff. I asked my kids about it the other day because I heard somebody pose the question on a show. If you had that choice, what would you do? And I really wasn't sure what my kids would say. And so I asked them, I kind of laid it out, and all of them actually said that they would rather be in the world that's real. But I don't think that that's the majority. I would say that's probably the minority. I think most people would take the easy, superficial route than go with the struggle that's real. But yeah, I'll let anyone that wants to jump in on that at any level.
Jayke?
I would 100% go in the virtual reality world, man.
But you have to stay there.
I'm joking. No, I'm joking.
Okay.
Listen,
I was about to say, give me the headphone. Give me the headset.
The way I look at it, so we as people, we are sinful in nature, right? Like our natural inclination is to sin.
Yeah.
And so if you got everything you wanted, do you think that would be a good thing?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
And that's the way I look at it, is like, it's a slippery slope to just be like, you can have whatever you want and then you can just make everything else go away, blah, blah, blah. I think it's a very slippery slope because people can fall into that of just, I mean, you talk about, I'm just going to say it, like, because like the amount of people that would be doing the stuff with the porn and like virtual reality with that stuff, and like,
Yep.
you could do all kinds of stuff, man. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it's good at all.
Nope.
I think to, kind of piggyback off that a little bit, I think some of the best qualities that I see in myself now are a direct result of uncomfortable situations, or even having to overcome a bad decision that I made, and having to go through the consequences of that. And I can't imagine like going through where you don't ever have negative consequences, or even negative things that happen to you that are not a result of your decision, that just are done to you by others. I think there's a spiritual aspect of that too, that it's good to be told no. It's good to be in bad situations, uncomfortable situations. That's where the growth happens.
Yeah. And well, go ahead, Charlie. I'll let you go, and then.
Yeah. So when you brought that up, I kept in the back of my mind, I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, nobody's putting some dang chip in my head. I'm not going to get controlled by nobody. Like, I don't know. That just, all of that sounds cool on paper, but then how's it going to affect you in the long run? You have to think about that. Like, especially with that neurological chip thing, like, you don't know what they're going to be able to put in that. Like, they might just be able to flip a switch and you're brain dead and you're just walking around, but they're controlling you. Like, no. Like,
yeah, what if
no
somebody hacks
way.
into that?
No, but exactly. And that's what I'm thinking about, like, the driverless cars. So if somebody hacks into that, makes you crash. Like,
yeah, I'm not getting one of those either.
No.
Nope.
So, we need to find balance between technology and not having all that mess. Like, there needs to be a fine line, and they're starting to cross it. I'm like, no, not touching that.
Yeah.
Would you say, Jake? Your wife what?
My wife's always like, I would love to drive down the highway and not have to do it myself. I was like, are you crazy? Like, that thing could malfunction like a 1 degree, and then all of a sudden you're going like boom, 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 boom into the river or something. No.
How many times have you tried to put an address into your GPS and then you end up just in the forest?
Dude, for real.
Just
Like,
in the woods.
I was going somewhere, and it was trying to tell me to go on a road that wasn't there. I was like,
It's like Michael Scott and Dwight in The Office. How they...
Yeah. No, I flew back to Illinois a couple months ago, and I got a rental, and the rental had like, it wasn't fully like autopilot on the driving, but it was where it could see where the lines were, and I didn't really have to steer. Like, I had to sit there and like keep one hand on the wheel, but it did the steering for me. And so I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. Well, then I went through construction, where there are a bunch of different lines on the road, and it kept trying to take me like to the right when I needed to be going straight. So, I mean, even that, like, there's some really not good possibilities with that.
For sure.
But yeah, that's crazy.
There's this video going around, and I'm sure y'all have probably seen it, or if you've not, then so you talked about like in this world you'd be able to have anything you want, right? But and like Jake said, like we have that sin nature right off the bat. So like automatically most human beings, especially those that aren't Christians, but even a lot of Christians aren't content. And so like we find a way to, even if we have the appearance of having everything, still wanting more, still wanting, what we can't have. And like, I saw this video where this guy was talking about how everything in the Bible is placed like so strategically, and everything is placed there for a reason, all the wordings, everything, and how the tree of good and evil was put in the center of the garden. And so Adam and Eve had to walk past all the fruit, everything that God gave them, had to go past all of it to get to the center of the garden, to get to the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And so like, even when they had everything, they still wanted to go to that one thing that they couldn't have. And that's how I feel like it would be in that world too. Like, even though you have the appearance of having everything, you're still going to figure out a way to get to that one thing that you're not supposed to get to. You know what I'm saying? In some way, that's just human nature, especially non-Christians. Yeah. But then also, I think it goes back to what I talked about a second ago. If y'all hear something, my son's trying to break in. But hold on a second. Go upstairs, bud. He just woke up from his nap. But anyway, hold on 1 second. Y'all can keep talking.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, with that, like, even as a Christian, I don't know. Actually, I do know. I wouldn't trust myself to have that level of complete freedom because, I mean, as much as I'd like to think that I would be fine and I would be able to completely resist any possible temptation, I know I'm human.
If you can't do it in the real world, you're not going to be able to do it there.
Like, and that's where I like, one of the best things I think about the real world is it's hard to do some stuff. There are limitations, there are barriers, there are things that are in your way that serve as a good reminder. I can't imagine being like, we're literally anything at all that I wanted to have or experience or be around or see or anything like that. It's just like, it's there. Like, that's crazy. I do think there's some medical benefits I've seen where I think they've actually tried. They've done some human trials with the Neuralink, but one of the first people that was going to try it was a lady that's paralyzed from the waist down, and they said that with something they put it in, and it's like it sends electrical signals and stuff like that, but it's able to override where the spot in her spine where she's paralyzed at. And so in theory, I don't know that I've seen anything else come from it, but in theory, if she gets this, then it's very possible she could go from being paralyzed for the rest of her life to being able to walk again. So I do think there's some medical benefit with that, but I would be extremely restrictive if it was me on who actually gets that. Like, it would need to be a game changer for that person. Someone that's blind or they're paralyzed or some other medical issue like that. I could see those being possible benefits to it. But anyone else, really, I think the risk way outweighs any reward.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I missed the first part of what you were talking about, but
No, you're good.
I mean, he's 100% right. It's not, as humans, we can't be trusted with that kind of technology. There's no way. No way. I keep going back to the porn thing. Like, as somebody who used to struggle with that, there's no way that people wouldn't be abusing that. There's going to be people out there who would be abusing that for 10 hours a day. Like, that's just what it is. Because some people have that big of a problem. And it's just being able to have access to whatever you want at any time. It's not beneficial to us at all. Even if you get that dopamine hit, I mean, in the long run, you're killing yourself. So, yeah, I don't think it's a good idea. But I will say this. I will say I like VR in a video game setting because I'm big on people getting up and moving. And I think rather than sitting on a couch and like playing video games, I think it's good for people to get up, get their heart rate going. And like, just from a health perspective, I think that could be good. But after video games, I'm like, nope, shut it down. We shouldn't be doing that.
So we're all in agreement. Nobody would take the nobody would take the goggles and hang out in the virtual reality world.
Jake will probably do it, and we just see like 24/7 Toby Mac concerts. That's all he would be doing.
I mean, that was actually one of the things I thought about was like, not about Toby Mac specifically, but imagine being able to like go, like you talked about NBA games. Imagine being able to go to any concert and like wear headphones and feel like you're front stage at any concert or NBA
or even
game. Like that would be crazy.
Imagine being able, like, especially if you throw in like AI now. Imagine being able to do that. So like now, I could go to see Michael Jackson live or Tupac live, or people that are like dead and gone. Like there's a lot of crazy stuff with it,
and they're doing that now with holograms already.
Like, that's what I saw that
they did with holograms. Yeah,
I'm scared of that stuff, man. I'm scared because we're gonna live in a world where it's like we don't know what's real anymore.
But I think too, like if it'll be cool for a little bit, but once the newness wears off, like there's the reason that it's so cool to sit front stage at a concert, or the reason that it's so cool to be courtside is because not everybody can do it. But when everybody can do it, then what's the attraction to it?
So I don't know. I mean, you'd still get the experience of it, and it's not like, I don't know.
But you can only do it.
I'd argue people would still enjoy it. I mean, it would lose its muster after a while if you could just go to whatever concert.
That's
you
what
wanted,
I'm saying.
But
if you, like say I decide like I'm going to be in this world, and then for a month I'm doing the same thing, and I'm like, man, this is getting old. You'd literally have to get to the level of like killing someone, or you know what I'm saying?
That's where I think eventually it's going to lead to, and like that's where you see. So back on the topic of pornography, I've struggled a lot in the past with that, and I've done a lot of research, a lot of studying the psychology of it and things like that. And if you look at people who, careful how I word this for YouTube censorship, people who offend minors, pretty much every single time. It's not every single time that it happens, but it's enough that it's like 99%. Before they would actually offend the minor, they would start off by watching pornography. And so with all of them too, what they typically did was they would start watching, and then that wouldn't be enough anymore. So they'd have to go to something that was a little more taboo or different to get the same, and then a little more, and then a little more, and then a little more. And that's where you have like, I haven't looked at the stats for like 2 or 3 years, but I know a couple of years ago, the most searched thing on adult websites was under 18. Like, I mean, that's what causes it. And so there's, I think you would have that, and you would have it on an even bigger level.
Definitely.
Because then it goes beyond just that one habit or that one vice that you have. It's every aspect of your life, and there's there's beauty in the monotony of our lives and just going through the cycles and like working and stuff like that. And I think you get away from a lot of that really, really quickly if you're in a world like that constantly.
Well, me and Jake been talking about a lot too, like how really we need to, as Christians especially, look at everything more on a spiritual level. I'm not saying like over spiritualize everything, but I'm thinking of I'm talking about like Paul says in Romans 12, what is it? Don't be transformed, but be transformed by
Uh,
the renewing of your mind.
don't be conformed to this
Yeah, don't
world,
be
but be
conformed.
transformed by the renewing of your mind. Yeah.
Yeah. And then in Colossians, I think it's Colossians 3, he talks about like setting your minds on things above. And the second that we realize more that the things that are of this world are just a distraction that Satan tries to use from keeping us to reach our full potential, like that's really what a lot of this stuff is. The video games, the sports, the music, like all of this stuff is really just a distraction to keep us from what we're ultimately here to do, which is do a work for Jesus. Now, I'm not saying those things are bad, but I'm saying like the second that we let them take our focus to a place where we shouldn't allow it to go, that's when it can become,
Yep.
a bad thing. But yeah, that's an interesting question. That's an interesting question. You got anything else on that, any of y'all?
No.
Jake, you got
I'd be
something?
thinking about it for the rest of the day, like, oh.
My question is more, it's just kind of thought-provoking, I guess, kind of to go wrong with Jesse's. It's unrelated, but would you rather forget everything about yourself, or would you rather forget everything about everyone in your life?
Oh.
So like basically you get to a point where you lose your memory on everyone else, or you lose your memory on who you are, but you still know who everybody else is.
So if you forget everything about yourself, do you still remember like who your spouse is and
No,
things about them or your kids?
no,
So then if you
no,
remember everything about
completely.
yourself, would you
Don't
still
remember you?
remember who they were then?
They would still know who they were, but like you would get, you've seen movies where it's like, I'm your wife, and you're just like, I don't know who you are,
Okay.
kind of deal. Like they would have to reteach you everything about your life.
It's funny because me and Kelly were watching Smallville yesterday, and it was, I don't know if y'all watch Smallville at all, but there's one episode where the like they call them like the freaks of the week. Sometimes they'll have like a bad guy on there for one episode, and this dude could like wipe people's memory, and he would only wipe people's memory for like a couple of hours just so they couldn't see him, robbing the bank or whatever. But when he went to go erase Clark's memory, he erased everything, and he didn't have any memory at all. And I think it's funny, like when people in movies, when they go up to somebody that's lost their memory, the person that's lost their memory is like, "Who are you?" Like you wouldn't be that rude to somebody in real life. That if that was the case, we'd all be walking around the streets when you walk into Burger King and somebody comes up to you and you'd be like, "What are you? Who are you? What are you doing?" You know what I mean? Like that's not realistic. But it was that is interesting to think about. So you're saying if you remember them, but you don't have any memories with that person. Is that what you're saying? Or they don't have any memories of being
I'm
with you?
starting to confuse myself now. Okay,
No.
my bad. So basically, is option one is you remember who you are, but you don't remember who they are. They have to remind you. Or you don't remember who you are, but you remember who they are. But you have no memory of your life in the past or who you are, what your skills are, who you love, any of that stuff. But yeah.
I would I think I would go with remembering who they are and not remembering who I am, because
Yeah.
I feel like that would be the one that no matter what, it's going to be turmoil for me. But I feel like that would be the one that would be less difficult on them. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's off the top of my head. That's tough.
Yeah. And I was thinking too, like,
be
if it was the opposite, then I'd be like, oh my gosh, then my mom doesn't remember who I am. No, 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 not having that. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I would do it. I would do it like you're saying, Jesse, because, and I could I could be retold 1,000 times who I am. I'd be fine. Everybody can tell me who I am. It'd be
It would
fine.
be like 51st Dates. Yes, you seen that movie, Jake?
Yeah.
no,
Jake ain't seen that movie.
no.
But
Come on, man. No, I think I would do the not remembering who myself is, I guess. But I still have memories of those around me. Is that what you're saying? If I choose not to remember anything about myself, I still remember though about people around me. Is that what you said?
Yeah, you just forget everything. Like you forget what your skills are, where you work, who you're actually married to, who your kids are, that kind of deal.
Oh dang! But I would I would see my kid and I would know about him, but I wouldn't know it's my kid.
See, I don't know, man. Maybe I should have picked a better question because now I'm just confused. Because if you think about it, it's like, well, you forget who you are. Your kid's kind of who you. Well, yeah, okay. Maybe you do
Now
remember
you're
your
confusing
kids,
yourself, bro. I don't.
Yeah, now I'm just confusing
Maybe
myself.
you
So I
do.
don't. Just to play devil's advocate here or whatever. Since you guys picked that, I'm trying to think of a way I can pick the other one. And I can't really think about it. I would obviously want to remember everyone else too. Because like then they can tell you who you are and you can trust them.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So yeah, I mean,
Depends on
but you
who
would
you're
already
around.
have if you remember them, you would know who you trust and who you don't already, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I guess.
And if you didn't know anybody, then it's kind of like, I don't know you. Like, how do I know you're my wife? I guess you live in my house, but I don't know you. Or like, I could be sitting here with you guys and being like, I don't know you guys, and you'd be like, we've known each other for this long, and I'm just like, I don't know.
Jake, I've known you for 5 months. Come on.
Yeah.
We go back. We go back. Oh,
I actually had a teammate in college who got in a car crash, and he was here from Texas, and that happened to him, and he couldn't remember any of us. He had no idea who any of us were, and he ended up having to go home.
Wow.
It was crazy. He was here for like 3 weeks, and he would like come to basketball practice because he knew he lived in a house of basketball players, and they were like, hey, you're supposed to come to this. And he would just sit there and be like, I don't know who any of these people are. He didn't remember our names. He didn't remember why he was here. It was crazy.
Gosh.
It was wild.
Did he get his memory back?
I don't know. He moved back to Texas, and I never heard from him again.
You forgot about him too. Not only did he forget about you, you forgot about him. Dang.
The only thing I remember about him was his name was Jayke too.
Oh.
Did y'all just give him that name to easy for him to remember because you were around?
No. But yeah, stuff like that happens, man. It's crazy. Yeah. And in that case, I'm not sure he even knew who he was because he didn't even know he was a basketball player. So
yeah, that would suck. A lot of times I think because I've been I'm trying not to be this way, but like married almost to my work schedule in a way. Sometimes I feel like, so I'm like, I got to be home at this time to go to sleep because I got to get up at 2:30 in the morning to go to work and those type of things. And so I just look at it as like, man, if I lost all my memory and stuff, that gave me a good excuse to be home for work for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So, that's kind of how I look at it. But then, with the way my company works, they're the type that, like, if something bad happened to somebody, they would just be like, "Okay, well, we'll find somebody to replace you." They're not going
That's
to.
what my job is. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, "Well, it was nice to have you work with us," but because like the company that I worked for before, this guy had literally a stroke. He was working on his house. He was up on a ladder, had a stroke, fell off, and he was out for a while because I want to say he was in his 50s, and so not old, like old, and so then he was out for a little bit, and for the however long the doctor said, and basically they told him, well, even when the doctor okays you, we've already got somebody covering the route. It's like, okay. So and the guy had been working there for like 25 years. It's like,
wow,
no loyalty at all. But
dang.
Yeah, I think he probably would take the virtual reality world over this one being treated like that. But anyway, all right. So Charlie, you want to close us out with your question? This is a good one.
Sure. Yeah, mine's a good one, and it's not as confusing either. But I was just wanting to know, since the New Year's
Oh,
is coming
dang.
up, um, since the New Year's coming up, where do you see On Fire is going to be at the end of 2024?
First of all, shots fired. I accept it. I accept it.
Yeah, that was he was aiming for the head on that one. Charlie, you want to give everybody so you had the question, so you've been thinking about this for a minute.
Yeah,
Or
I
did
can.
you okay, so you
Sure.
want to go ahead first to give everybody else kind of a minute to think about it?
Yeah, sure. Well, I was thinking too, we'd have, I don't know how many playlists we're going to have, but probably like tons more, because I don't know how many genres of music is there? There's probably what? I don't want to say endless, but there's so many genres of music, so I think they'll probably have way more playlists as well, and hopefully maybe some more people to kind of hop on those, and so we're not like running ragged, right? Trying to, hey, we got to spread this. You got to go here and go here and go here. Just the seven of us trying to run around doing that. But also too, maybe just getting some more. Maybe who knows? Maybe merchandise. I don't know. Just spitting some ideas out. And maybe just to set the goal of, say, maybe spitting out a number at maybe 40 episodes, right? Of the podcast at some point or something like that. If we keep going the way we're going or whatever. Something like that. But that's what I got.
I'd say I see the merchandise. I see the playlist.
Yeah.
I think by the end of 2024, I can see On Fire like being like officially formed as a company.
Yeah.
I think that's going to happen this year. I could see even possibly having some original content, a couple different venues this upcoming year. I could see we've already talked a little bit about some sports stuff. I could see that. I think I could see having some kids content, maybe not a ton, but some kids content out by the end of 24. Some other, I don't want to say adult content because that sounds bad, but
Yeah.
not kids content out by the end of the year. I don't know. I could see, especially with just how much we've seen stuff just kind of take off already. I could even see where some, if not the majority of us, are actually employed officially through On Fire by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as you guys know, and I talked to Donovan knows this, I'm a big dreamer, right? So when you ask me this question, I'm like, we could all quit our jobs. We can all just work
What you mean?
full time. Well, that's even easier for you then.
So Charlie's gonna walk up on the stage at his graduation. They're gonna go to hand him his diploma, and he's gonna be like, "Nope, I don't need it."
He just walks
away. throw his cap at the principal.
I wish he's a Karen. Don't let me do that.
Starts moonwalking across the stage.
Yep.
I just look at everything that's lining up. So like everything just keeps slowly coming into place. I feel like I can only speak really on myself, but just the fact I was going to move somewhere and now God's taking me completely to the other side of the country and all you guys are already over there. And just I can see 2024 being a big year in terms of just actually like taking this thing off the ground. Maybe it's not to the point where we want it to be. I'm not saying it's going to reach its peak in 2024, but I do think it might get to a point where we can be like, okay, let's do this full time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got anything else, Jake? Okay.
Not really.
So I have not really thought about it from like a year to year basis. Like I know whenever God gave me the vision to do this, I know that we're going to touch all forms of content, everything. So I don't know how long that's going to take. I don't know what all it's going to be this year, but I was listening to a message by Louis Giglio yesterday, and he was talking about if somebody told you in 2023 everything that you were going to go through in 2023, would you be able to handle it? Or would you just be like anxious and nervous and depressed and worried? How's this going to happen? How's this going to happen? And it just shows like God's grace that he doesn't allow us to see the full picture beforehand, because then it's like, okay, how am I going to get to that spot? And so like when I'm looking at this year, I don't know, man. I do think that I think this podcast could be something that's beneficial to a lot of people and helps a lot of people to see that Christians can have a good time. Like we don't just sit around and talk about Bible bowls and stuff all the time. There's other things to being a Christian, just like random conversations. It doesn't all have to be Christ-centered, but everything ultimately for us as Christian, from a Christian perspective, is going to be from a place of a biblical worldview. But so I think we could get into some kid stuff. I don't know where the podcast is going to go, where the music stuff is going to go, but yeah, just stuff like that. I think it's going to be a big year. I do think it could be a year that there's multiple people that are doing this full time, I believe, as well. So I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited for this year. I don't know if I should. I was thinking about sharing that story that I called you, Jesse, the day of when our podcast came out, and I already told you, Jake, what happened at work about. Well, I guess I will, since I've already. Okay, just real quick. So I was driving the other day, and I've had the same route for 3 years. I go to the same stops Monday, go to the same stops. Everything is the same. And I'm on the interstate. And it was like the coldest day so far here in Chattanooga. The weather was, and my heat stopped working. And so I was like, man, what's the deal? So I was like praying, and I'm like, today's going to suck, Lord. Help me not to get into a negative headspace just because this. And then I missed my exit. I'm like, how can I miss my exit? I get off the same exit every Monday, to start my route. And so I was like, okay, I feel like God's trying to like get my attention at this point, because that's 2 things in a row that's happened. So I turn around, go get off my exit. I get to my first stop, and as I'm pulling into the parking lot, my truck just dies. And so I'm like, what the heck? So I sit there for a second, try to crank it back up, and it starts up. I start rolling, and it just dies again. So I was like, okay. So I just started praying, and I was like, Lord, I don't know what's going on right now. Like, I'm probably gonna have to call the mechanic. But at that time, it was like, 3:00 in the morning. None of the mechanics are awake at 3:00 in the morning. So I'm gonna have to get somebody up out of the bed, that whole thing. And so I was like, Lord, I don't know if you're trying to get my attention or tell me something right now, but I pray that you would just silence me right now and keep Satan away from what's going on right now. If there's something that you need to tell me, don't let me make something up in my own mind. Don't let Satan whisper something in my ear. Like, let me only hear your voice in this moment. And so I just sat there for probably like 5 minutes. And then I just started hearing the word breakthrough. And so I was like, I sat there for another couple minutes, and I was like, okay, is that what you're trying to tell me in this moment, Lord? So then I just started praying. I'm like, Lord, if this is what you're wanting to tell me in this moment, like, make it abundantly clear. And I just kept hearing that word over and over again, breakthrough. And so I know we got a lot of, what do they say, a lot of fryers on the stovetop, or what they say, a lot of whatever it is. I know we got a lot of things going on right now. There's a lot of people that I'm praying for, that God would give them opportunities inside of the talents that they have. So I don't know if that word breakthrough was for me specifically, for Jesse, for Charlie, for Cody, for Jake, for Antoine, for whoever. I'm praying for like a bunch of different people that God would give them opportunities, or if it's for specifically for On Fire. But I do know that there's going to be something in 2024 that God's going to allow there to be some kind of breakthrough, and it's going to be something that I think is big. I don't think it's going to be something small, but we'll see.
Coming.
Yeah, on that note, y'all got anything else?
I don't think so.
Jake. All right. Well, I guess that'll be it for this week. If when this episode comes out, what if one of us not a part of On Fire anymore, then we know that they weren't a part of whatever it was. Whenever Charlie asked that question, I was waiting for Jake or Jesse to be like, well, hopefully Donovan will be out of the group by then, or maybe Godbody, or you know what I'm saying? Kick some people out of this thing, tighten it up a little bit. But yeah, so if y'all don't have anything else, I guess we'll go ahead and close it out. But yeah, so if you guys are liking what we're doing here on Fire, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Probably should have said at the beginning if you made it this far, but hit the subscribe button. You know, throw down some comments in the comment section, like the video, go follow everybody on their social media, follow us on our On Fire page, and Lord willing, we will reach every single facet of media. Might take a little bit of time because we're coming from a place of right now we're fully just reliant and our sponsored. We're just sponsored by prayer. You know what I'm saying? So like if y'all would be praying for us as we try to get into all these different levels of media. But we appreciate you guys. Tell somebody about what we're doing here. And Lord willing, we'll see you guys next week. Y'all have a great week. On fire, gotta